Let me look. Yes, we have about 39 participants now. I think this is a good moment to start. Is everyone ready? Okay, then I will kick off. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining. My name is Reinhard Nuiten. I'm agricultural counselor, and I'm located in Kiev at this moment. As you see, I'm working from home due to Corona, which is a kind of a pain in the ass. Sorry for the language. Why are we here today? As an agricultural counselor, I'm working at the Netherlands Embassy, and our job is to support Dutch entrepreneurs that want to enter the Ukrainian market. This is either by providing market information or helping them via trade promotion, or helping them with issues which they may encounter when coming here. But we also try to be proactive, because we see things that are less easy to spot from the Netherlands, obviously. So when we see something interesting, development, we try to report about it, we try to investigate, and we want to share the information that we gathered with the right people. As so with precision farming, when I arrived in the office 2 years ago, there was a lot of development in the agro IT sector, or agtech, as you may call it, as it is called here. In the Netherlands, the closest word that approaches this is precision farming. So this is why we call it like this. And I had heard a lot of stories about it, and which sounded very interesting. But I also learned that there are little facts known. So what do you say when you talk about an opportunity? When do you notice an opportunity? For this reason, we approached RVO, Marieke van der Wilk, as a business development counselor, who's not here at this moment, unfortunately. But she has worked and contributed a lot to this project. So that's why I wanted to mention her name. And together we made sure we could develop a proposal for a study. And we approached the Ukrainian Agricultural Association, UCAB, to conduct this study. Today, UCAB will present their findings, which I think are very interesting. That's a kind of spoiler alert, but you wouldn't expect me to say something different, I guess. But not only that, we will show you the findings, but we will also have two Ukrainian companies speaking about their work here and their experiences with precision farming technologies, to give you a better idea about what's going on here in Ukraine and why this could be interesting for you. When we did that, we're going to switch to a group discussion, because we see the opportunities, but obviously we are very interested to learn if you see the opportunities. And if so, let's talk about it. What can we do together? Of course, as entrepreneurs, you will have to do the work. You will have to enter the market if you're interested. But how can we do this together? How can the Dutch government support you in this? Lydia Aalpoel, my colleague from RVO, will give you some explanation about the tools that we can offer you for support. So that's basically what we're going to discuss in this next hour and a half. And yeah, I hope it will, I'm positive it will be very interesting, but I hope my enthusiasm will not be limited to myself alone, but that you will also see the opportunities. So without any further ado, I will give the floor to Oleg Nesterov from UCAB, who will start giving the results of the study that UCAB conducted. Oleg, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Reinhold. Now I start the presentation. Just a second. You see presentation? Are you see on presentation on?
I see it. I see it.
Oh, super, super. So, good afternoon, colleagues. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Oleg Nesterov. I am represent to Association Ukrainian Agribusiness Club, and as a part of this research, I'm also the project coordinator. My main work in Ukrainian Agribusiness Club, it's agtech situation, analyze agtech situation and precision market situation too. Since since our presentation time is somewhat limited, we pay more attention to the following blocks, which you can see on slide. It's general information about this research and brief information about agriculture sector, crop production, and we talk about conclusion as some opportunities and challenges in Ukrainian precision farming sector. Briefly about the presentation, about the research. The following chapters of study you provided are provided where there is a description of agriculture sectors Ukraine, structure, more detailed research, result maps, graph tables. You can see in main file. If I write to know, you can download this file when you registration on this event. Concerning the process of carrying out research, our main task was to form a list technologies which interests the Dutch companies and Dutch side, and conduct a survey to Ukrainian farmers. The farmers we divide into the following groups. You can see on the slide, and total of 1,500 and 500 enterprises we interviewed. We divide the enterprises into several categories in order to understand in which segment certain technology is used. You can look this category up to 1,000 hectares, 3 to 3,000 hectares, and so on. To begin with, I will give you a short description of the agro sector because you have to better understand what's happening in Ukrainian agriculture sector. First of all, need to understand the agriculture sector is an important component of Ukrainian economy, and in the structure of GDP, it's about 9–10% of GDP, or near $15 billion. In addition, the agriculture sector is a key component of export. In general, part of which is 45–44% of total export, and in monetary terms, more than $22 billion. And should be noted that the agriculture sector mainly focused on crop production. You can see on here, in general, more than 76% is a crop production, but other it's animal production too. About crop production, this is clearly seen in the structure of agricultural land. You can see this mainly arable land, and in crop production, we are still more focused on grain and industrial crops, where sown areas for more than 85% of all arable land. You can see on this slide, you can slide here. If we talk about gardens and vegetables, they make up 13–15% on average. And one of the main reasons is the lack of land market, because we try to start land reform more than 20 years and no one have a land. In general, only can rent a land, but not have in general. briefly about the key product when I show them. Regard to grain. As you can see, farmers or agrarians are mainly engaged in the cultivation of wheat and corn, which are also an important export commodity. There is a constant demand for this product and also the cultivation technology, which is constantly improving. As you can see, we had a constant increase in grain production until the last year when we have some problem with weather. But in average of 15 million hectares are sown we are sown every year. This year we have, in general, we have a record for the harvest and good indicators for the yield. And you can see here, this shown data is actual for this December, for the 10th December, if I right remember. So it's in general, we harvest in general 100%. In general, all harvest, you can see this. You can see this. With regard to industrial crops, here more than 70% of cultivation area is sunflower. It's sown in the area of in general 6 million hectare per year. And almost all of the ground products are processed into oil. About soybeans and rapeseed, in general, we export them, but recently many companies are starting to produce oil from them in Ukraine. There we are also similar problems related to the weather on the last year, which also affect in the harvest. You can see on production and yield in the last year, and you see information about in this year, and you can change it, and you can look at change on yield and production. For vegetables, the situation is follows. More than 19% of vegetables are produced by household. In this regard, quite often there are problems with assessing the real state of this market. Perhaps in connection with the opening of the land market and the direction of part of the subsidized for vegetable growing, the situation, I think, will change, and enterprises that have more opportunities for finance and technology, we also will be engaged in this business. But based on the available data, it mainly focuses on growing potato. You can look this, in general, it's more than 70% of all sown area. About fruit and berries, the situation is not very different. More than 18% of products are produced in households. However, it should be noted that in the last couple of years, the situation has improved due to subsidized for the compensation for the up to 18% of the cost of seedling for enterprises that plant a garden. There is also a great interest in the cultivation of nuts and almond. Briefly about farmers or agrarians themselves who work in Ukrainian agriculture sector, because you have to understand with them you communicate in the future. We conditionally divide them into three categories: farmers or small agrarian enterprises, medium enterprises or medium-sized enterprise, and big agrarian company or agroholdings. Of the 19 million hectares cultivated by enterprises, because some lands cultivated physical person, for example, we say them одноосібники. I don't know how to in English, sorry. About this type, what I say, agriculture holdings, it's 13%, and in general, 5-6 million hectares. Medium-sized enterprises, it's more than half agricultural land cultivated, and small enterprises in general cultivated 15-16%. It's a near 3 million hectares. And I want to briefly describe each type of enterprises. First of all, it's a farmer or land or small agriculture enterprises. In general, in the most cases, this is a family business where founder and family perform the main responsibilities for work of farm. The land bank is usually up to 1,000 hectares. Medium-sized enterprise land bank from 1,000 to 10,000 hectares, and quite often they have own elevators, livestock farms, or something else. Sometimes they have a garden and so on. Agri-holdings are enterprises from 10,000 hectares. Often their structure consists of head office and clusters. I think you understand what I mean. Head office cluster is essentially a production unit with own management, agronomist, and including specialists in the field of precision farming. On this slide, you can see the top 10 agriculture holdings, and in total in Ukraine are about 112 agriculture holdings. That it's who cultivated more than 10,000 hectares. I mentioned about the subsidized programs for agriculture sector. Within the framework, within the framework of some of the programs that see on the slide, you can indirectly introduce precision farming technology or offer products to increase the efficiency of enterprise. First of all, is within the framework of support for farmers who invest in irrigation, and from the 2023 years, it's planned to compensate the cost of equipment for precision farming. For example, agrarian buy drones or some sensors, and they can ask in our country compensate of part of cost. In general, it's a 25% compensation. But it should be noted that this applies to equipment made in Ukraine. Also, I think the percentage of localization you can see on here of production will be reviewed for this equipment, but it's this ask for open now. Now regarding the results of the study. In detail with information on regional, additional data, maps, in more detail described in the study itself, which you may already have seen. Now, I would like to briefly highlight the main indicators in different categories. If we're talking about farmers or enterprises up to 1,000 hectares, most of these farmers are not so active in introducing new technology into their work. And as we can see, many don't have electronics field maps or electronic maps for their fields. And only one of only 1%, only 10% of them use a satellite data or NDVI. I think you understand it. Some problem in this category. If we talk about medium-sized enterprises from 1 to 3 hectares, then their position is much better. More than half use autopilot system, GPS trackers, and more often use satellite data or NDVI. If we're talking about medium-sized enterprises, but from 3 to 10,000 hectares, this category are already actively introducing this precision farming technology. You can see high rates of field digitization, use of tracking system, about 70% of response use satellite data, in general 13% use farm management system, for example, climate field view or Cropio or something else. And now agriculture holdings are much more active in introducing and using various technology and also more actively using management system. But it should be noted that sometimes the process of introducing a new technology can take longer and last more than 1, 2, or 3 seasons. You can look that the testing and scaling process in the kernel sometimes will be 2 years. It's for example, kernel, it's one of the biggest agrarian holdings in Ukraine. That's the reason for this structure and procedure of decision making in such companies. That is, in this case of agriculture holdings, you should be patient. Need to say, at this stage in general, we see prospect for expanding the use of precision farming technology and opportunities for technology companies to offer interesting solution in this area and for our agrarian companies. I think you understand, we or Ukrainians have a large number of farmers with different size, types of activities, and accordingly the need for different equipment and technology for introducing on their work. Also, we sense the impact of global trends towards a decrease in the use of plant protection products and fertilizers, and the issues of effective and spot application will arise more often. And should be noted the cost of main resources for the production of agricultural products is growing, and solutions that will help reduce the cost of production will be in demand. Yes. Oh, change slides. Okay. Along with this, a number of reforms are being carried out that requires the search of and implementation of solutions, including in technological and innovation terms. First of all, this is the opening of the land market and carrying out an inventory of land, certification of land, and appraisal of value, and so on and so on, because it's some problem in Ukrainian, and sometimes change a law about appraisal of value of land. It also irrigation, in which it's a plan to invest about $18 million from the state budget next year, because we change law. We try to create a, how we say, water community, and they can use this irrigation system for their work, and they have to understand how using these water resources. And the previsions of the green courses or Green Deal providing for a change in the norm of the use of fertilizers, plant protection products, and increase in the production of organics products and accordingly the land for growing such products. If we talk about recommendation for you or for new companies who want to start in who want to start to work in Ukrainian market, first of all, I think it's important to have a representative in Ukraine or a better dealer or distributor who already has its own network in Ukraine, is in direct contact with the farmers and know his needs. Important to form a pricing policy and compare yourself to your competitors. Competition in the market is quite serious, and you need to understand what price segment you are in. And cooperation with local authorities should be also concerned. Many powers and opportunities in the land sphere and related to use of land, water, and forest resources have been transferred to local authorities or local communities. And these communities, if they have a good government, have a stake in the efficient use and control for using these resources. And accordingly, they turn to various service, company, organization who help them in auditing, accounting for their resources, monitoring the use of land, water, forest, and so on. And it's an interesting area where you can propose some solution, some technology, or start communicating this sphere. So I noted it's a main or only key points that the presentation is some limited. Also, each of them can be discussed separately. So that's all for me. I'm grateful for your attention. The question, if I right to understand, we discussed in the question and answer session, or something else. Yes. Oh, yeah. Good. And
thank you, Ole. Yeah.
And the next, my colleagues from agriculture companies, Dmitry Zaitsev and Dmitry Glushenko, have to connect. Oh, he's here. So for the next, it's Dmitry Zaitsev.
Hi, colleagues.
Are you here? Oh, super. So I'm stopped my presentation.
One moment, I'll share my screen to you. One moment, please. I'll share my screen to you. Is everything okay with my presentation? Do you see it?
Yes, yes, we see it.
Super. I work in one of rather large Ukrainian company. We work with almost 200,000 hectares in Ukraine. We are located in 5 regions of our country. And I want to demonstrate to you some roadmap. How do we work with different technologies? How do we use them? A few years ago, we make the roadmap what technologies are interested for us, are very interesting for us, and how can we plan our technical process to implement these technologies into our production. As Oleg already told, that usually it requires at least 3 years to scale every technology into large-scale farm. This is almost the same picture that we can see in our company. And first of all, we start with some basic technologies, for example, with precision borders of our field, because previous year ago we had fields that based on satellite images. It was boundaries with a lot of mistakes. Now we use information from field computers, from tractors, from spreaders, from sprayers, and every operation is based on precision and electronic field map. This helps us to plan goods that we need on the field. Also, how do we spread and spray fertilizers, for example, to avoid harmful influence on the environment. This is how do we proceed. The next step is to use specialized program equipment. For example, we use Glider SMS to make information from field computers visible. Sorry, some problem with my camera. I'll switch it off. We use CropWise. Also, we use Trimble AG to make precision prescription task to make the pictures how our equipment proceed on the field with this task. Also, we use, for example, a different telematics system, for example, class telematics, Myjohn to make the process more easier. The next step is to control field roads. Few years ago, we had problem. One moment, please. I need to change the screen demonstration.
Can you put it in slideshow form? Then the text is a little bit better visible.
Okay, one moment. Is it better right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Apart from the fact that my Ukrainian is not super, but you can see it.
So I want to explain what the slide is about. Before every technological operation, we plan optimal road. Usually, this work is done at the beginning of new season, and we send these lines on our tractors, and tractorist just use this optimal roads from the list. And also we have some control task when we control the result of this operation to understand if the road was correct. Also, we widely use different telematics system. We send field boundaries, we send prescription maps on our computers. For example, right now we have more than 40 seeder, and this two parts. One part is ISOBUS ready system. So we use universal terminal to operate with this equipment. Another part is precision planting equipment, which is also ready to work with in this conception, in this process. So we try to make every operation under control. Another step also is to improve accuracy of spreaders and sprayer system. This previous slides was connected with field culture, with how a field is look like. Another one slide that demonstrate differences when we use technological roads and when if you don't plan it. Another factor that we notice that we deal is in row moving. Of course, it's very important to sunflower, to corn. We use row sensors, for example, cameras. Also, we have radio sensors. Every self-propelled sprayer is equipped with such sensors that for this moment we change the situation and every operation is going in row. Also, we use in-row cultivators that also equipped with cameras. Another one picture that demonstrate differences when you move in row. One very popular problem in Ukraine is section control. We calculated more than $20 efficiency in comparison with when we work with section control in comparison without section control work. Some old pictures to demonstrate why this is necessary. In overlapping areas, we have falling of the corn, and in this area, the productivity, the yield is very low. How do it looks like right now when everything is working? Another one very important task in Ukrainian company is to control every operation. For example, the value of implement. I have already talked that we use Telematics system. Also, we share this information into the crop wise, where everybody, every agronomist, every engineer in our company can look through the results and to understand if the work was done correctly or do we have some problem on this field. So we have enough time to react, to change the situation if our agronomist understands that there is some problems. Another one slide about some problems that could be in field if you don't control the situation, if you deliver everything to tractorist. When we have more than 2,000 employees in big company, you can have such problem. Also project that is very important for Ukraine is analysis of soil compaction, of soil density. In our company, we have one soil compaction scanner for 5,000 hectares. Every agronomist of block has such device, and 2 times a year before planning next operation, we use these devices to scan the problem and to detect the problem and to detect the field that requires operation to remove soil compaction. A great project for years period is agrochemical analysis of our soil. We plan the fertilizing according to these maps. We use these maps to understand the productivity of each field and to work with zones. In our company, we work with zones. So we detect zones with different productivity. Usually this information is taken from satellites, scanners. After that, GIS programists make road, and machine moves by field, taking probes, taking samples, and then we make analysis to understand the real effect situation. Also, how do we start with implement input when we use different demo fields? We proceed with different values of seeding, with different values of spraying, so on. It was like our ideas. What do we want to check? How do it works? After that, also this slide demonstrates the situation. The previous slide was about winter wheat. This is sunflower seeding. So every year we make a few fields for demo to analyze how does the field proceeds according to weather condition, according to terms of seeding. This information is gathering while harvesting, and I'll switch for a few slides. After gathering, we have a yield mapping. A lot of our harvesters have yield mapping system. This is sample from class Telematics. Our agronomists use this map to analyze the real fact productivity of each part of the field. This is very hard process because our fields are very have a lot of different varieties on each field. During the year, we check satellites, imaginary, usually it's sentinel pictures, but also we sometimes we can order planet pictures if we require some information, for example, on spring period. Usually we have a lot of clouds on this period from February till the end of April, for example. Usually we don't have any picture from Sentinel. So this period is very important because this is period of winter spreading. So we use also spreaders that connected to isobus system, and we plan spreading fertilize according to productivity maps. Another one.
Mr. Zaitsev, could I ask you to finish the presentation due to the time?
Okay. Okay. So the last slide is about meteo monitoring. Is also very important part to understand the process that are in our fields and to make correct decision. So that's all.
That was actually well timed. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. And if there are questions for Mr. Zaitsev, then of course there's the Q&A session. But first we go to the presentation of Mr. Yushchenko, who's the director of the private agricultural enterprise called Ukraine. Mr. Yushchenko, the floor is yours.
Oh. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Today I made my presentation without presentation, so you just need to hear me with higher attention. My farm is 7,500 hectares. It's located in Kyiv and Zhytomyr region. Our farm is a part of also Agri Holding. It's named Eridon. It's a big producer and distributor of fertilizers, seeds, and crop protection products around Ukraine. But we also have Agri Holding. My farm, as I told before, 7,500 hectares, but we have two directions: crop production and robotic dairy farm. So, and this farm is for 1,000 milking cows in Ukraine. Is quite maybe one of the biggest farm and the most innovative. Dmitro before told about different technologies that he's using in his company, but I'll just say about the technologies we use, and mostly they are similar to the one that are using by other companies. I can tell that we're just maybe in the middle or of the like innovation market in Ukraine. What about our field technologies? What we use at first, it's parallel driving. All the tractors are equipped with this system, so all the operations are done with autopiloting. The next one is section control, planting, spraying, fertilizing in most cases is done with the section control. We try to make 100% of yield monitoring. The problem is that the combines we rent on the market, they are mostly not equipped with the systems. So it's quite a problem. And the next step that we're moving forward is variable rate application. We began this year, and 2 years ago we started with variable rate planting, and now we are moving forward to variable application of fertilizers. In future, maybe we'll also make maps for soil herbicide application also with differentiated rates. What software we use for in our job for using these technologies? At first is GPS monitoring at the like base level, but what we've changed in it is that we create automatically reports what kind of job was done. I mean, how many % of field was cultivated with which equipment, if there are any skips, what is the quality of job done, and as a result, in the end of the year, we got a report for each field at what time, what operation was done. The next one is satellite monitoring. We use such software as CropWise, Land Viewer, or OneSoil. So all these services use free data like Landsat or Sentinel satellites data. So we use all of these software, but everybody chooses which one is more useful for its own tasks. Of course, as we try to make yield monitoring, yield mapping, we try to get data from planter. We need software to visualize this data. For these reasons, we use FieldView, and I think now it's the most useful and easy to use application, because we don't need special software to convert data from Raven, Egg Leader, Trimble monitors. So all this data is uniform, and it's the place where we can see all the layers. Because before there was a problem that, for instance, if we have Trimble monitors, we can see map in Trimble X software. If we have John Deere planter, we can see in My John Deere. That's why I think the future for software is applications that combine data from different sources, because even FieldView is now I think it's the best, but it's not the perfect one application. So the place where you can put all the field data, soil analysis, data from meteo stations, data from, I don't know, maybe also from budgeting, where you can put all the product that you use for this field. If there will be a software that combine all this data, I think I would use it. So if we speak about crop production, I think it's all. And several words I would add about dairy farming. As I told before, 1,000 milking cows is a big farm, and we made it with robots, with Lely robots. So I think you know what I mean. And what I see now is that in dairy farming, this software that could be used for analysis is even more crucial than for crop production, because in crop production we need much more investment to get some big amounts of data. In dairy farming, if you have a modern farm, you have a lot of data. For instance, you have data from the responders which are on each cow. You have data from milking robots. You got data from meteo sensors on each building. You get data from feeding, and I don't understand why there is no software on market that can also combine this data and make some kind of analysis. Because if we speak about robots, yes, Lely has T4C software, but it uses just the data from robots and a little bit from responders, but it is just for visualization and maybe some little analysis. But I believe that it is possible to do much more fluent analysis of this data, and maybe it's also a future or opportunities for big data in dairy farming. So,
okay,
if you have some questions, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lysenko. Yes, I see we run out of schedule for approximately over a quarter of an hour. So my suggestion is that we will shorten the question and answer section in the first place, because we have 20 minutes for that. I would limit this to 10. And then that allows people that want to go out earlier, let's say on time, to leave then. But then we can have additional time for questions and answers after the discussion about the follow-up. So now 10 minutes discussion, questions and answer, and then we go for the RVO instruments from Lydia. So who wants to ask a question to one of the speakers? Yes, I see hands, but I don't know the name. You have the headset and the glasses on.
Yeah,
please.
That's
Eddie
me.
Loonstra. Yes,
that's
yes.
correct. Hi, my name is Eddie Loonstra. I'm involved with soil scanning, actually. And I was wondering, I heard a lot about the technologies you both informed us about, both farms, actually. The mapping and the satellite images that you use for crop production, yield monitoring. But I haven't heard much about soil conditions. Could one of you inform me on how you get your information regarding soil? Not only the content of the fertilizers, but also on matters on organic matter, pH, clay content, for instance. And how do you derive that information? Do you do that by sampling, or do you have scanners available?
I can begin answering this question. We do soil testing, but mostly it is done on problematic fields. So with like 5 hectare plot, but mostly we do general soil analysis for the whole field. How we use this data is just for making our fertilizing technology more accurate. So we, if we speak about variable rate application, we don't use soil analysis data, because even if we put 1 hectare plots for analysis, it is not enough for differentiation. It is much better than 10 hectare plots, but it is even in this case not enough. For variable rate application, we use satellite monitoring, satellite images, where we get data on NDVI index, and during spring or autumn time, we got the color of soil. Both these data is used for variable rate application. Soil test information is not used for that. You were interested in pH and other conditions of soil, right? So it differs. Even on my farm, I got fields with pH like 5, and I have fields with pH up to 8. So it depends in Ukraine. It's very hard to find some uniform farm where you get a stable pH. About clay content, the same. So we have sandy soils. We have also Chernozems, which are quite loamy. So it differs. It differs. So in each farm has different soil types.
Thank you.
Can
Anyone
I
else wants?
continue?
Yeah, please.
The same situation in Ukrainian, a lot of fields are very different with soil types, also with different elements condition, and with pH level, the same situation. We have from 4 till 8 pH on different fields. We have all variety of soil types, starting with sands, starting with carbonites, finished with black soil. So it depends on region, it depends on exact field. What do we use, and what we are interested for? For example, we are starting with carbon tracking process, and we use, for example, ROS-C methods to calculate carbon emission. For example, with different soil technologies, soil proceeding technologies. And for example, right now we don't have plowing as well. We use deep tillage, but also we use siderates. We use different types of meliorants to increase pH till 6.5. So this information is, and this process is based on soil sampling information. That is how we use this information.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to elaborate on this, or is there another question? I see Hamed Midipur. Please unmute.
Yeah, thank you very much for the nice presentation. Well, my question is more about the vegetation index, because in both presentation, my understanding was that satellite and NDVI is one of the key, let's say, the information, support information that the Ukrainian farmers are using. Well, yeah, I'm sure that people are expert in this room, and then they know the limitation with NDVI and all these issues with the clouds and the satellite. But my question goes about how is the feedbacks from Ukrainian farmers, how they are happy with that? Because here in Netherlands or Germany, for example, people are complaining about, okay, it's a colorful map, nice to see, but I cannot use it because this support information doesn't fit my management model. It only fitted when it's actually is coming to a quantification of like how much protein exists or how much dry matter exists. What is the experience of the farmers in Ukraine with that?
Okay, I'll answer. It depends. What are your expectations and what are you going to get from this NDVI index? We use, first of all, I would say, when we get NDVI index, every time we verify if this image could be useful for us. As you told before, you see just colorful image and you don't know what to do with it. So if this image has good quality, we use it. First of all, is we use it for in-season monitoring. Agronomists, before they drive around fields, they use NDVI maps to understand which fields should be analyzed at the first time and which points on the field should be inspected. So it's the first direction of use. The next one is used before harvesting. So, for instance, sunflower, we can use satellite image to understand in which direction we do desiccation of the fields, which fields should go first and which could be done in the next time, and the same one with combining. So we understand where to begin and where we can end. Third use is, as I told before, for variable application. We made trials for 2 years when we used satellite data for differentiation in field, and we saw that that works, and the zones that were created from the satellite image were quite accurate. So these three directions, at least, that we are using satellite images.
Also, I want to add that we use satellites image, for example, for 5 years to create productive zone. It's not only this year, because sometimes we can notice the situation can change from year by year. It depends on spring frost, it depends on amount of conduction of rain in this moment. Sometimes we have different situation when the productive zone is unproductive in another year, according to weather condition of this season. Everything else is the same, like Metro told.
Okay, I got a question via the chat from Enrique Gulen. Sorry if I mispronounce. The question, I think it's Oleg can probably best answer it. The question is, do you see Ukraine moving in the same direction as the EU in regards to the Green Deal regulation? Between brackets, 50% reduction of agrochemicals by 2030.
If I right to know this main point now we discussed together with colleagues from European Union, but need to know that our norm of use in fact agrochemicals is not higher, and sometimes is not higher how was in the European Union, and sometimes we use not much fertilizers, agrochemicals, or something else, and maybe this 50% reduction of agrochemicals maybe is not important for us, but now it's discussion point in our communication with European Union.
I want to add that in our company we are very interested in carbon project, and we start to calculate greenhouses emission, and we want to understand the model, and we want to be sure that this model is could be relevant for Ukraine, and if you have different models that can be used in Ukraine, we can discuss it, because we are working with this project by our own initiative.
Okay, does anyone wants to ask a final question?
I had one in the chat. Rick van Bruggen, Agrifac. My question is related to the earlier question. What do you expect from variable rate spraying or spot spraying, either by using a map or satellite images or crop sensors or cameras on machines?
I told about variable rate spraying. In this time, I mean using soil herbicides according to the organic matter content in the soil. We can take this data from the color of soil from satellite image, because it's mostly correlated. If the soil is light, it has less organic matter. If it's dark, it has higher amount of organic matter. But we tried that in our company, but each farmer should check if it works on his field. With soil herbicides, this will work. If you speak about spraying, so camera that identifies the wheat and sprays it, we can test it, we can check if it works. We know about the technologies, but they're not represented on market fully, and if they come here, we will try them.
I want to add that we tried the post-image implement with variable rates, but we used drone sensors to detect the plants, the weeds in row. It was rather interesting information, because we could calculate the economical reason of this process, but it is very hard to scale this process on large field. So at this point, we might take a pause to understand which route would be more effective to increase the productive power of drones, or to put the implement and different sensors on sprayer that are able to detect weed on high speed, and that can provide exact spraying in spot.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close this section right now due to the available time. I do understand that maybe there will be still a lot of questions remaining. I know some questions have been submitted by us via email. We can discuss this later at the end of this webinar for those who have time, and otherwise we see how to connect people with each other. For me, this is a good signal that there's a lot to be discussed, which is a very good thing. Now I would like to switch to the next session of this webinar, where we want to see how if companies who are interested, how we can support them from the government, from RVO, from